All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Heidi Buffington. I'm the Director of Admissions here at SLU-Madrid. We call ourselves SLU, if you didn't know that. I'm joined by a great panel of professors and students. So today's theme is unique academic opportunities at SLU-Madrid. So maybe what we'll do first is introduce the panel. And why don't you say where you're originally from and where we're recording. Maybe I'll start off. Welcome to my living room. We are, during this COVID time, we're all working from home, studying from home. Classes are online. And we wanted to reach out to everybody to give you more information about what it's like to study at SLU-Madrid, unique academic opportunities. We're gonna do another one on what to do after you deposit, kind of next steps. So we hope that reaching out on these videos will be able to give you an idea of what it's like on campus and what to expect as a student. So I am originally from Erie, Pennsylvania, on Lake Erie, and I am recording live from Madrid. This is my home now. So I think I'll pass it on to Laura. Why don't you go next?
Okay, hi everybody. My name is Laura Moyner. I am a senior at SLU. I am going to graduate in May. Even though I did almost all of my 4 years at SLU-Madrid, I'm currently back at home in Minnesota. So that is where I'm recording from.
Scott, you want to go next?
Sure. Yeah, my name is Scott Rose. I'm originally from a little town in Alabama called Athens. I was born and raised there, but I've been actually in Madrid for a little over 2 years now. So, in a lot of ways, I consider Madrid home, and that's also where I'm recording from. But right now, I'm a student at SLU. I also will graduate in May, and my majors are English literature and Spanish language.
Laura, did you tell us your majors?
I did not. So I am a Spanish language and an econ major with a minor in theology. Great. I couldn't really decide what I wanted to do, so I just kind of chose a little bit of everything.
Perfect. Gonzalo, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I am Gonzalo Moreno. I am 47 years old. I was born in Madrid, then raised in Buenos Aires, then back to Madrid. I've lived in many places. I am a marketer. I started my career as a communications, graduating as a communications major. I worked on advertising. Then I entered the world of business, studying an MBA. Then I finally took my PhD in marketing. And at St. Louis, I teach management courses such as Intro to Management or the Capstone Strategic Management. And some marketing courses, such as my favorite, the Intro to Marketing, where I can be really harsh on students. And then suite of courses like international marketing, marketing communications, strategy, and so on and so forth.
All right, last but not least, Martha.
My name is Marta. I'm a sophomore. I'm studying, no, I'm kidding. I'm not a sophomore. I'm a math teacher. I was born in Cádiz in the south of Spain, in the most beautiful place in the world. And I've been working at SLU for like almost 25 years. And I teach, as I said, math, statistics, operations, econometrics, all the fun courses in business. I'm a mathematician and I did a PhD in statistics and econometrics. And I think that's it.
Sounds good.
And I'm recording from Madrid, from my house in Madrid with my family.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention also, I'm in Madrid, obviously confined at home, and this is my small home office.
Perfect. So the way this is going to go, we can all interrupt each other. This is going to be a conversation. I have some slides that'll help our conversation, and I think what we're going to do is look at our campus first. What are the unique advantages of studying at SLU-Madrid or in Madrid itself, and then go a little bit broader about using Madrid as your campus and what can you do in Madrid, and then a little bit more broad to life in Spain and what can you do, how can we use Spain as our classroom, and then beyond. And then at the end, we'll go into some internships, study abroad, and life after career-wise. So what I want to do first, just so everybody's on the same page, give some information about St. Louis University as a whole. So this is a picture of our main campus. Remember the arch. I'm going to point that out on one of our buildings in Madrid.
Sorry, Heidi, by the main campus, you mean Missouri, right?
In Missouri, yep. In Missouri. Thank you. I mean, we consider ourselves.
Of course. I mean, Madrid is our main campus. Come on.
Yes. the St. Louis, Missouri campus. So just some fast facts. We may be covering up the fast facts on the right-hand column. But St. Louis University was founded in 1818 in Missouri. It's a private Jesuit institution, and the campus in St. Louis has about 13,000 students. Laura, you studied there for a semester, I believe. So it's a big research institution, and the campus in Madrid has about 1,000 students. I'm gonna skip ahead to that slide. I'm gonna do this profile. The Madrid campus has about 1,000 students. We were founded in 1967, so we started as a study abroad program and then have grown over the years. We're gonna get into what degrees you can study in Madrid, but these are just some interesting facts. Small classes, we are US accredited. We are recognized in Spain as a university, but we grant American degrees. We do have American accreditations in business, like AACSB, and in science and technology, especially in engineering with ABET. And I put in the pictures of the Billiken, if anybody knows our mascot. It's on the list of most interesting or funniest mascots in the US. The picture at the bottom was from back in the, I think it was this picture back from the early 1900s when the Billiken was popular. It was a good luck charm. And so if you started a new job or moved into a new apartment, you might get gifted a little Billiken, and they said, may things be as they ought to be. So wishing you good luck. So it's a good luck thing. And then going to some of the degree programs that St. Louis University offers, you can see on the left, we're ranked number 97 in the United States. So that's a very high ranking for national universities. And then undergraduate programs, you can see in international business, we're ranked number 13, entrepreneurship, finance. So the business department, the business school is very strong. And then you can see some of the graduate programs as well. And then just some pictures of our campus, just so you can kind of get a feel for what the campus is. There are 3 buildings you can see on this little map here. And I'm going to show you bigger pictures. This is San Ignacio Hall, and you can see that arch. So we mimicked the archway of the main campus, the Missouri campus, on our small campus in Madrid. So this is one of the biggest buildings, and people hang out in this building quite a bit. This is the Padre Arrupe Hall, where admissions and science labs, the business offices are in this building. I think sometimes students correct me, this is the quiet, this is the get away from everybody, this is the go pay bills or see admissions or things like that building. And then Padre Rubio, every building has kind of a hangout space in the back, just to give you some visuals. So now maybe we're going to go into what can you actually study on our campus. And you can see on the left-hand side, currently we offer 15 full degree programs. So you can do all 4 years of these programs. And we have 2 business professors with us today because the business department is one of the biggest. It is the biggest. International business, marketing, economics, all very strong programs. And then there are minors on the right-hand side. So why don't we go into SLU Madrid as the classroom. So I don't know if you can see on this slide, we've got nursing students because we have a nursing lab, but I like to call this the Marta and Gonzalo slide because you've got Gonzalo giving a class outside. I actually took this picture with my cell phone, I think a day before we were sent to lockdown to stop the spread of the virus, and I think that's working, we hope. And then Marta, I don't really know what class this is, but there you are giving class. So I want to kind of turn it back over to you guys because I want to hear from you. Why don't we talk about just the class? Like, what's it like to be a student at SLU Madrid? What is the classroom like? Anybody want to jump in?
Well, you asked us, so I guess Laura and Scott, no?
Well, you guys,
I guess that would fall to us being on the student side of things. Yeah, I mean, I can speak on that. One thing I would like to mention, though, I think a big question that a lot of people have, and I think Laura and I are maybe a good example. I personally chose, well, we're both actually double majoring, right? You double major, right, Laura? Okay. So one thing that is available, we listed here all of the, on the left-hand side, the degree programs, on the right-hand side, just a moment ago, the minors. it is possible to dual major in something like Laura and I. So whereas I dual major in English literature and Spanish, and in that case, when you dual major, a minor isn't required. So I think that sometimes that is helpful information for students, because that's a big question. That's a big question that I get a lot from the new and incoming students that I see on campus. So that was just a tidbit. I thought of that while you were giving the presentation. As far as the classroom, for me, I mean, I think the most notable thing about it is that we typically have smaller classroom sizes, which I think is in reality a huge benefit to the university and what we offer at SLU-Madrid, because it's more of an intimate environment, and you can create these relationships not only with your classmates but also with the professors. They know your name. You're not just a number in the classroom. I know there are a lot of large universities that will have a classroom of 100, 150 students or more, and you're lacking that personal touch when it comes to getting your education. And on campus that whether inside or outside the classroom, you could stop a professor and say, hey, I had this thought, or hey, I've got a quick question, or you can always go to their office hours, and they know who you are, and they know your name, and they know the work that you do. And I think that's a huge benefit as far as the classroom sizes, which vary. The most I've ever had was maybe 20 in a class. Might be the largest class that I've ever had. And then I've also taken some more obscure Spanish literature courses, and I had a classroom of 4 students. So you really get to know your classmates in that case. But yeah, so it really varies, but it's always a really nice kind of personal experience.
But I think also too, we're all on first name basis. So people call me Heidi. I introduced Marta and Gonzalo by their first names. In general, faculty go by their first names, right? This is normal for us?
Yeah.
In Spain,
and I don't necessarily think that's the case at other universities. And not to say that's not a bad thing, but my sister, for example, she goes to Penn State, and now that I'm home and I'm like having these online courses, she's like, oh yeah, like your professor, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's Dave, or and she's like, you call him by your first name? And I was like, yeah, it's pretty normal.
Yeah. Actually, here's another quick story. Just yesterday, one of my professors, who I've had numerous classes with, one of my professors sent me a text message to make sure that I was doing fine. He's like, hey, like just checking in, like how are you doing, and that sort of thing. And it's that sort of thing is not really uncommon. I know a lot of people who maybe follow their professors on Facebook or Instagram or something like that, because you have these contacts. I think that's really neat. I think Spain in general is kind of, there's sort of an informality and a closeness to the relationships that you have, even among students and professors. But at the same time, we still maintain that level of respect as well, which is something that I think is really interesting, and it's not something that I ever experienced in my studies in the US. So that's something that I think is actually really special, because I know that I can come to my professors.
Yeah, actually, Scott, I think that's a huge cultural difference. I think rather than a SLU thing, it's like a Spanish thing.
That could be, yeah.
I mean, I think so. It's not infrequent for me to give my personal number, my WhatsApp, to my students, and we text each other back and forth. And during this confinement times, it's proven to be very, very helpful to keep track of, especially in the higher level courses. It's usually smaller classrooms, so you want to keep an eye on each and every student personally. Yeah. It's a more personal learning experience than a mass thing,
right?
As it happens with larger groups. Yeah.
Sorry. One thing I was going to say, we didn't mention diversity on campus. And actually, I think that would be an interesting thing to talk about a little bit, about classroom dynamics. So our students, granted, we do have 2 Spanish nationality professors and 2 American students today on the webinar, but we have students from all over the world. There are 50 nationalities. Somebody who's American might also be half Chinese or half Spanish or something like that. We have a lot of cultural, religious, linguistic backgrounds on campus. And so I think from what I've heard, I've taken some classes too, but what I've heard from other people is that it really makes the classroom experience maybe totally different than what you've come from, or it helps you realize that, wow, we don't all think the same way. Does anybody have any, interesting class experience that you want to talk about, diversity wise, or conversations that have come up?
Well, so I took my sophomore year, I took a class on Jerusalem. And as everybody knows, Jerusalem is definitely a city with a lot of cultural diversity. You have 3 main religions that are living there: Christians, Jews, and Muslims. And so obviously with a campus this diverse, you have all of those religions on campus. And it was really cool to come together and be able to talk about such sometimes a really difficult subject to talk about and still be able to have a really deep and good conversation about it. And everybody was able to bring in their own opinions and their own backgrounds and kind of talk about this topic in a really good way. And the teacher also was able to really direct the conversation in a respectful way too, and give her different opinions. So I guess that was probably the class that most stood out to me as far as diversity goes.
Yeah. I would say that I've had similar experiences in that way. Actually, as you mentioned, especially in the theology courses, because as we are a campus with what was it, 54 different nationalities, did you say?
Generally 50. Last year we polled. Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, with that comes, of course, different languages, different cultures, different religions, different experiences, and different backgrounds. That manifests itself in every classroom, but in religion, you see that a lot, and it's always very interesting to meet real people who have these beliefs, and you can learn from them, and I think in a big way become a more well-rounded person by meeting different people on campus. And I would say that another huge benefit is that not only do you just share a classroom with these people, you become friends with people from all over the world. And so, if I travel to Paris, I know someone there. If I go to Germany, I know someone who lives there. So not only have I made these contacts, it's now I have a networking system that's global, which, if we're going to be talking about post-graduation in a bit, that in a lot of ways can become a real asset. Not only does it, help you out, I would say, professionally, it helps personally as well. So I think that's something worth mentioning.
I think another thing we've touched on it, but we haven't actually said it. We are a liberal arts university, right? So whether you're studying economics or engineering, you might take an ethics course or public speaking or one of the religion courses. That could be Islam, it could be New Testament, it could, so you graduate well-rounded, able to speak in public, write well, think for yourself, develop as a human being. So it's interesting. I've heard from students too that, especially some of the religion classes, it's like, wow, it's respect for someone different from yourself. So let's move on. So I wanted to, maybe we can walk through and talk through some of these Madrid experiences. Have either of you guys done any fine or performing arts classes?
So
yeah, I took piano with Alberto.
Did you?
I love it.
And students, undergraduate students. It was a lot of fun.
So Alberto is the guy in the picture here. He's our Italian piano teacher. Laura, I think you're in the quartet or have done.
Yes. So for 2 years now at SLU, I have been a part of SLU's ensemble. Basically, every semester, it kind of varies just depending on the study abroads that are at SLU, who brought their instruments, who plays what. But every semester, Alberto tries to get a whole group together, and basically we just get together once, twice a week, and we play. And it's just a great way to meet other people. It's a great way to just play my instrument. It was something that I always looked forward to every week. It was kind of just like a break from the rest of university, all the studying and everything else. And I just got to sit down with some cool people and play my instrument.
And then we have the choir pictured there as well. The choir did some really cool outings this Christmas. They went out and sung at retirement homes and kind of community service that way. And then we have painting classes on campus and dance classes. So there's some of the kind of the on-campus fine and performing arts opportunities. And now we're going to go to Madrid. So make Madrid your campus, or that's kind of our slogan. Here you can see Paula Ortero studying at the Royal Palace. And then what I love about Madrid is in the bottom left, you have the Plaza Mayor. It's 500 years old, but then you also have the 4 towers, the Cuatro Torres, which is kind of the modern. You have the old and the new in Madrid. And I think Gonzalo is going to talk to us about his shopping safari that he does. So take it away.
I can do that. I can do that if you want me to.
Yeah.
Well, you see, I told you that I've been teaching. Actually, the first time I ever taught was in St. Louis University in 2005. So it's been 15 years already. But I have been a marketing practitioner for over 25 years. So I try to make my classes as real world and practical as possible. Okay. So the shopping safari is just one of the many activities that I do outside the classroom. I try to compensate this as part of the learning experience, as part of the class time. So the shopping safari is interesting for several courses. So sometimes I've done it with intro to marketing students, like a easy version for them. Then when I teach distribution channels, then I take them as experts there to judge what they see and analyze different retail experiences and different retail practices. So basically what we do is we hunt for trends in retail. We visit different outlets, like perfume stores such as L'Occitane et Provence or Sephora or Rituals or L'Oreal or Kiehl's or Lush, and we compare their practices, such as how does it differ to market a Lush product from a L'Oreal mass market product or a L'Occitane sort of selective distribution kind of product. Then we visit major retailers like Carrefour, which would be, for those who don't know about European distribution, it would be like our Walmart here in Europe. It would be the closest to it. Or Toys R Us, which everybody knows. Unfortunately, they went bankrupt worldwide, the American original organization. But here in Spain, funny enough, Toys R Us, the brand and the outlets were purchased by a Portuguese distributor. And so the brand still exists. And it's funny to see how they practice certain customer experience, such as come and get to know the product and touch the product and test the product, more than just simply selling and trading with the goods they're selling. Shopping experience is a major thing right now in marketing. In fact, experiential marketing has been a big thing for over 20 years now. And experiencing things firsthand is very important for students to understand how things go, rather than just being in a classroom and telling them about it.
Great.
It's one of my favorite activities, actually. I must confess, I'm a distribution geek, as I usually tell them. Yeah.
It sounds amazing, actually.
It's fun. Yeah.
Gonzalo, I'm so glad you mentioned that about Toys R Us, because I was walking down the street, before, and I was over by Quintana, and I looked over and there was a Toys R Us, and I was like, where did that come from? It was brand new. It was brand new. And like you said, I thought they had all gone out of business. Yeah. I think that's so interesting.
They have globally, but then here in Iberia, both in Portugal and Spain, the brand got purchased by the owners of Continente, one of the largest distribution retailing groups in Europe. And they have completely changed the strategy. Actually, it's good that you mentioned this. They've opened smaller size stores closer to the city center. Exactly. Rather than just, huge big box shopping places in the outskirts. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a funny thing. Yeah.
Well, so what other things can we do in Madrid? So there's a lot going on this slide, but I thought I would put in starting in the upper left-hand corner, it's just a typical market, a fruit and vegetable market, and some of our Spanish classes go out and practice their Spanish there. I know they go to the Santiago Bernabeu Stadium as well to work on Spanish. It's kind of taking the classroom outside of the classroom. Our art history classes and art classes go to the Prado Museum. That's in the upper right-hand corner. Our nursing students do the sophomore year, spring semester, do their first clinicals in Spanish hospitals. So there are two St. Louis University nurses at a hospital in Spain. And then a lot of our history students will go to the National Library, they'll go to the National Archive to learn how to start doing research. Trying to think of other things. I put in here's a little Instagram push here. This is every Monday we have a hashtag called Madrid Crush Monday, and we feature places around the city. And this one, I just picked a random one. This is the National Library, and there's a tip there. If you want to go, you can get a library card and things. So you can pay attention to our Instagram feed and see what kind of tips we send out. But we do a lot in the city, as well as the rest of Spain. So actually, before we go to the rest of Spain, Gonzalo also does a kind of a field trip to a beer factory.
People are going to think I don't teach at all. I just do fantastic things, you know. It's just, that's what I do most of the time. Yeah, within the international marketing class, we've created a seminar about internationalization of Spanish businesses, and actually Mao is the leader in the brewing and the beer industry in Spain. From the merger of the two largest operators, Mao and San Miguel, this huge company was created. Actually, 70% of our exports, of our national exports of beer, come from this factory. And you know, through the years, I've developed like very good relationships with people there, because I love taking students there. It's fun because it's beer, and you know, they get to try, even to taste different beers and all. So you know, students originally go for that. Oh, hey, it's free beer. You know, students are like that. But then they discover, you know, what beer is, the history of beer, how beer is brewed, the different types of beers, and then the business part of it. How Mao and San Miguel merged, what were the reasons for the merger, how they operate internationally. And it's a whole of a business case, and it's a fantastic, really, really fantastic visit. I mean, it's probably the students' favorite. And again, let me emphasize this, it's not for the beer thing, but for the overall experience thing.
Cool, thank you.
Oh.
All right, so one more. I know this is like the Gonzalo.
Oh my God, it's all about me. Okay.
I did ask for photos, and people sent me photos. So.
Well, yeah. Well, you see, the thing is, Marta usually teaches in a classroom, and you don't have many occasions to take pictures of classrooms. Yeah.
No.
So in this case, this was a joint project that we did with our colleagues in Fordham University. They're also Jesuits, and they have a small campus in London. So what we do is we take a bunch of our students to London for a weekend, and then they take their students to Madrid for a weekend, and we do joint activities. So this last year, we do this in the fall. We've done it twice, and it's proven really successful in terms of, you know, students from both communities getting to know each other and work together and exchange experiences and all. In this case, these pictures are from Fermin. This is a torero suit.
Bullfighters.
Tailor, bullfighter suit. And it's funny because, you know, bullfighting is right now like there's a huge social controversy about, you know, obviously killing bulls and stuff. But then, you know, from a business point of view, one should consider that bullfighting is more than just killing bulls. There are many different industries, like, you know, plaza owners and entrepreneurs. And then, you know, torero bullfighters have like huge teams of people. And then the whole, you know, there's people that actually raise these bulls. I mean, it's a large activity in our agricultural economy. And then, you know, this is just a subsidiary industry, the guy that actually makes the torero suit. So it probably goes within what our chair in the business department, Dr. Howden, says. This is interesting because it's an unsexy business. And sometimes students discover that apart from apps and WhatsApp and the internet, there are tons of businesses they consider unsexy until they really discover them. And they see that business is sexy per se, or is interesting per se. And this is, you know, the beauty of teaching something that you consider interesting and that you're passionate about from the start. Sorry if I took too long.
Okay, I hit the screen, so
Good
I
one.
moved on.
No, it's fine. It's fine. That's it.
So going outside, using Spain as a classroom, I pulled these photos from our Instagram feed. Laura and Scott, have you guys done anything in Spain that's outside of Madrid, like going to Valle de los Caídos? I know that our anthropology and some of our politics students go out there, or our oceanography class goes down to La Manga and, you know, takes their learning out to the Mediterranean Sea. And then the picture on the right is in the Basque Country. It's Loyola. It's where the birthplace of San Ignacio de Loyola was born. I don't know. And have you guys done any class trips in Spain or that you can think of?
So I have been to Loyola. I went on the Jesuit retreat there for a weekend, and it was honestly an amazing experience. I had never been up to the Basque Country before, and it was beautiful there. It was green and it was lush, and it was just very different from Madrid. So it was great to see another area, another part of Spain. As far as classes go, I've never actually been outside of Madrid with a class, but I have done different activities within Madrid. For my Spanish history and civilization class, we went and saw a flamenco show, which was really fun. So I've done different activities like that. Although I know that, like with student life, for example, you can go to Salamanca, you can go to Segovia, Toledo, so you can go to all these different cities that are really close to Madrid just with day trips, and it's super easy to go with student life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to mention. In addition to being students, Laura and I are actually also campus ambassadors, which is basically a role that we volunteer for to be a resource for students, new and study abroad students or semester students who may have questions or need resources or whatever the case. But as a part of that role, we can also go as sort of guides or chaperones to these trips that Laura has just mentioned. So that would be like Toledo, that would be Salamanca, Monasterio de Piedra, which is beautiful. And so I have been on all of those trips actually, and I've gone to Valle de los Caídos, the Valley of the Fallen, personally, but not with the university, although I have been there, and I've heard nothing but good things, especially about the about that trip. And the oceanography trip is, I think, incredibly popular. Students have the most incredible time. I've never heard anything negative about that trip. It's just as amazing that it is.
I mean, the south of Spain, who wouldn't want to go there?
There you go.
Yeah. All right, so moving on. So now we're talking Europe and outside of Europe. This slide is very England heavy, but there are two different trips. I think Scott's going to talk about one, and then there's a photo of the class that Gonzalo was talking about when our students went up to London. But maybe Scott wants to talk about the Shakespeare class. And then also one thing that might be missing on that slide is students go to Morocco to participate in Morocco exchange. I don't know, did you guys ever do that? Or do you have any friends that did Morocco trip?
I've had friends who have gone, but I've never gone personally.
Yeah, so it's more than tourism. It's a homestay, it's volunteering. But Scott, why don't you tell us about Shakespeare?
Sure. So last semester I took an English course that was a course of study on Shakespeare, and as a part of that course, we go to Stratford-upon-Avon, which is Shakespeare's birthplace. So it's a short weekend trip where you go up. The photo here to the upper left-hand side is Alveston Manor. It's actually where we stayed. So we all stayed in this. It's a manor. It functions like a hotel. Absolutely beautiful. Really, really nice. And something kind of interesting about this, it's said, where we see this statue of Shakespeare, it is said that this is the location where A Midsummer Night's Dream was first performed. So that's sort of the legend that goes along with that. Coming up right beside that, this is actually a small bench, but it's this very creative sort of art form that's right by Anne Hathaway's cottage, and that is Shakespeare's wife, not the actress, unfortunately. And then down below we have Shakespeare's birthplace, and then this was our class. here. Overall, the trip was incredible. It's definitely a place that I will go again. Like, you walk around this small town, it looks like it's straight out of a Disney movie. It was one of the coolest experiences. And so we were there, and of course the main part of it is to not only learn the history of Shakespeare as a person, but we also went to the Shakespeare Royal Theatre and we saw one of Shakespeare's plays performed live. And this sort of this troupe, the group that performed Shakespeare, a lot of very famous actors and actresses have come out of this this actors league, I guess. I'm not sure what the correct terminology would be there, but you have Dame Judi Dench or Ian McKellen, persons like that who have, before they became famous actors and actresses, they did Shakespeare plays right there. So it was really, really neat to see that. And it was really nice to kind of walk there and kind of share that space that Shakespeare had also been. It's almost kind of surreal, but I have nothing but good things to say about that trip. I really enjoyed it.
Good, thanks, Scott. So study abroad now. So it's interesting, people say, well, I am studying abroad, studying at SLU-Madrid. Like, I'm originally from Morocco or the Middle East or Asia, or I'm from the US, but while I'm at SLU, I want to study somewhere else. So one of the opportunities, so we mentioned before, because Laura had studied in St. Louis, so there's a scholarship that allows our students to study at our main campus and pay the Madrid tuition rate, which is really helpful. Then there's other opportunities in Brussels, in South Korea, Brazil, Rome, in Italy, and Japan. So those are all direct exchanges. And I think study abroad is popular. People, I think once you actually decide to study in Madrid, it's like, let's add another international experience on, right? Does anybody want to add anything?
I think this, oh, sorry, Laura.
No, Marta, you go ahead.
Okay. No, I was thinking that these programs are very popular among business students. They really want to go there and they get all the help they need to get their courses transferred and everything. And when we try to make sure that whatever they take there will transfer back when they come back. And I think that we give them a lot of support so that they can do this, going comfortably and knowing that they're going to be fine when they return. And it's a huge success. They all have a lot of fun, and I think that for them is an academic and personal opportunity that is amazing, really.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and if there are other programs, sorry, I was just gonna say, if there's other places that are not on that list, our St. Louis campus, their Office of International Services has a list of programs too, and so those are available to students also.
I was gonna say that I know a lot of people who have gone abroad in addition to studying at SLU-Madrid and have absolutely loved it. But what I've also noticed is that people come to Madrid and they love the city so much that they're like, you know what, I'm totally happy staying here all 4 years. So I think that, no matter whatever you feel when you come to SLU-Madrid, you always have the option.
Definitely. Another thing we actually haven't touched base on, but we are a Jesuit university, so the Jesuits were strong in healthcare, in education, and social justice. Here's just some pictures from our campus, collecting money for Red Cross. The bottom left-hand corner is Boca Talk, which is a group. Have you guys done this? I don't want to explain it if you guys have done it.
I did it my freshman year. Okay,
well, you've had real life experience, but making sandwich for homeless people and then going and talking with them. And do you want to add anything, Laura?
Yeah, I just think it's a really good way to give back to the Madrid community. I mean, I feel like Madrid has given so much to me that being able to talk with the homeless community in Madrid is a really good way to give back. I also think that it's really good to see and talk personally with these people, because it's amazing, what these people have kind of gone through in their lives. It's actually surprising, some of them have PhDs, some of them were in the military, it's a really good way to kind of more humanize, because sometimes, it's easy to kind of distance yourself just because you have such different experiences. But I think this kind of, makes them, it puts you on the same level, you know what I mean? Everybody's human, we're all the same. So.
Yeah. the upper right-hand picture is one of our students teaching volunteer teaching in a community ESL program. So teaching English to local people of all ages. So, and then the bottom right-hand corner is a fun run to raise money. I don't remember which one this was for, but there's a different cause every time. And so right in front of
a lot of those.
Were you in that one?
Not this one, no. I didn't do this one. I did a different one a couple of semesters ago. And then something else that I think is worth mentioning as far as volunteering, one thing that I have done and really enjoyed, and Laura, you did this as well last semester, is volunteering at a local soup kitchen. Also kind of interacting with persons who are homeless or as we say here sometimes sin techo, with and so persons who kind of need these services and or maybe at a point in their lives when they need a little bit of help from others. And I agree completely with what Laura says. It creates a baseline for everyone. It's just sort of that we're all human, and it's such a rewarding experience to do that. And the university gives us many different opportunities to do it. And I mean, I think there's volunteering with animals. There's volunteering, in everything that we've mentioned. Also, soup kitchen. I know we have another program that delivers meals to persons with HIV or AIDS. There are just so many.
Yeah, great. What about, so career services. So the next slide up is internships. I was thinking it was right into internships right now, but just to mention a few things, because people do ask, well, what about, how do I prepare for life after SLU? So all these things sound really amazing, but can I get a job after? What is life like? So I literally took some snips from our webpage and from email. The first thing up there is, so from day one, when you step on campus, our Patrice Burns, who's the director of our Career Services Center, helps you figure out. So let's explore what major you should study. Like, there's a self-assessment that you can take. You can go and talk to her. She also has it's very small here, but if you look at this part in the upper right-hand corner, this is an email everybody gets every week that explains different speakers on campus, different activities. If you can see here, Tuesday, February 11th, Patrice did a workshop on how to build a great resume. She does other things like using LinkedIn. She does mock interviews. So everything to kind of prep you for the world after the university, and then finding a job. So career resources, explore different companies, research the companies. So she's kind of a one-stop shop for building your personal brand and what will you do after you graduate. So keeping in mind, the next slide is internships. Does anybody want to add anything about career services or kind of those?
Well, I do want to add that since the main campus in Missouri is a lot bigger than our campus here, they do tend to have more resources. And so you always have that connection with the main campus. The career services there, you can always email them. They're more than happy to send along your resume to different companies. For example, I know that the main campus always has career fairs throughout the semester. So I think that the career counselors there are always willing to send your name to these companies that are coming to campus.
Also, alumni are helping with this. We already have contacts with alumni that are now in big companies, or they have created their own companies and they're taking our students as interns. So, and building the community after the university, which is fantastic.
Yeah. In fact, some students, sometimes, being Americans, wanting to stay in Europe for a longer time for a professional experience, it's sometimes hard for them to get papers. And it's great when, students or alumni that have created their own businesses or that now have jobs help the newbies, the new graduates. I'm thinking of a couple of them right now that actually have become successful entrepreneurs and business people in Madrid. One from Iraq and another one from the United States. And they both got papers, they both started a business, and they are now recruiting students as interns and also recent graduates as employees. So it's fantastic. We're part of a community in that sense. And
What are their
I don't know, but
businesses?
I take it rather personally when it comes to helping students find their first job. You know, I don't know. I know I've been a professional now for 25 years, but it's 25 years seems nothing when you remember those first years after school and finding your first job and your first job experiences. And it's a really exciting period in their lives, and it's real fun to be with them at this time.
Yeah.
And it's great to help them as well. I mean,
And Gonzalo is not going to say it because he's very humble, but he teaches the capstone course for business students, and they say it's the best course they've taken at the university, where they put together everything they're learning, their majors, and that is also part of the career thing that they, because they talk about these things and they do it in a more professional perspective than academic classes.
yeah, I become a manager rather than a professor too.
That's great.
Yeah, but I just want to make clear one thing. I'm not humble.
You just didn't think of saying that.
That's it. I just didn't think of it. But thanks for mentioning it.
So one step before you're in the working world, or a foot in the door to the working world, are internships. And a lot of our students do internships. I don't remember off the top of my head. Laura and Scott, have you done an internship?
Have you done one, Laura?
Yes, I've done 2.
Ah,
One in Minnesota and one in Dallas,
can you
Texas.
tell
But
us about your internships before
You go first, and then I'll talk.
So my first internship, I was working in a small wealth management firm in Minneapolis, and it was really great. The people that I worked with were phenomenal. Basically there was 4 interns, and all of us basically throughout the summer put a project together, and at the very end, basically what happened was they gave us a fake client. It was just a John Doe client, and they gave us, all of their assets and basically told us to put together a plan to, tell them how to make improvements to their financial situation. And so that's what we did basically for the summer. And then we presented it to the whole firm. Like the whole firm was sitting in this conference room, and the 4 interns, all of us were sitting there, and 2 of the advisors were pretending to be these John Doe clients. And so we had to present their financial plan to them, and it was a really unique and amazing situation. Basically, I got to understand what it was like to be a financial advisor. And then my second internship, I kind of went completely opposite. Instead of sitting at a desk all day long, I was at the Four Seasons doing a hospitality internship, and basically for 4 days of the week, I was outside as a server at the pool, and then 1 day a week, I got to shadow various departments throughout the hotel. So I got to see what it was like at the front desk, what it was like in laundry, what it was like in reservations, concierge. It was a very amazing internship, and I'm very lucky to have had.
Were those facilitated through SLU-Madrid, or did you find them on your own, or how?
I found them on my own, but Patrice was really good about helping me with my resume, helping me with interviews. So I don't think I would have gotten them without her.
Great.
And then as far as internships on my side, Olid was saying I've never done one. But I've never done one because I tend to have 18 credits per semester. It's a time thing. But I will say, just to give another shout out to Patrice, because I think she's amazing. I went to her 3 semesters ago, 2 full semesters ago, this time last year, and I was thinking that for my last 2 semesters, I might balance with schoolwork and an internship. So we sat down, we talked about my interests, which are languages, translation, writing, literature, and we talked about different options. Unfortunately, she was wonderful, but unfortunately, none of them worked out. That was a year ago. Just the other day, I got an email from her saying, hey, this new opportunity came up. It falls within your interests, writing, translating. It was actually writing really funny things for like water bottles and mugs that were related to literature. It was so cool. Secretly, I really want to do it. But then the shout out to Patrice here is that she's just a machine. And I'm sitting here, I get this email, and I was like, after a year, she still remembered me, and she still remembered like, what my interests were. She's very organized, and she has a list of every student who comes to see her, what his or her interests are. And anytime something comes up, she's just amazing. She's just
That is definitely very Patrice.
Yes. So even though I did not have the opportunity to take advantage of the internship, like she still had me in mind a full year later, which that really just blew me away. Which also again speaks to the closeness of the campus and the classroom experience and the university experience in general.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I put some pictures here on this slide just to kind of show some of our students. Stephen is at Deloitte, did an internship at Deloitte, and then Elena at the British Embassy. We tend to have, Patrice keeps us updated every semester on where students have been and what they've been doing. And she tells me we tend to have students at both the UK and the US embassies. There's a company called Vera Content, which is writing for local newspapers or local papers. We have other big companies like Boeing, Ernst & Young, other Price Waterhouse on there, but then also small startups that are owned by our students. There's one of our pre-med students is doing an internship at a psycho-animal therapy clinic or something. It's using animals in therapy, and they're researching. So there's lots of opportunities. This is a major metropolitan city, and they're looking for students like ours who speak English. So kind of really good things happening for students.
Have you heard? Sorry, but have you heard what the Women Entrepreneurship Club are doing right now?
No.
Oh, you're gonna love it. They want to start a gourmet coffee, like real coffee business in campus. They're really.
I would love that. I would love it.
See, well, this is what they learn in business, to find business opportunities. I know that most of our students would love to have a better coffee. Or a more, I love the coffee at the cafeteria. It's just traditional coffee. But, like now you don't drink, you young people don't drink real coffee. You drink mochachinos and things that sound like that, So this is actually what they want to do. And I think their business plan is looking really awesome. And they've evolved like everybody there, like student life. Even the dean has heard of the project. And I'm really excited for them. Unfortunately, all these COVID thing just, got in the middle of the project. But they were doing great advancements, and I hope they make it for the upcoming semester, because that would even give job opportunities for students.
Yeah.
Helping and serving there, and facing the public is the best job you can get to really learn what selling is. Huh?
Yeah, definitely.
So just came to my mind when you mentioned
cool.
this project.
So then, kind of moving to life after SLU. I have a student there, and you guys were talking before about how Americans want to stay. Well, we have students from everywhere. So a lot of students who don't have a European passport really would like to stay. And this is Laura Lee Abad, originally from the Philippines. And she worked so hard to stay in Spain, and she did. She got working papers and was living in Spain, I forget how long, quite a while. And then she got this job with a European asset management firm and was sent to Sydney, Australia. And so that's where she's working from now. And I love her quote, because she says, "The global experience of my time at SLU-Madrid provided it was invaluable to my career, especially since my dream was to work for a global organization." And I think you don't realize that when you first come in and you say, "Oh, this is a global classroom. What does that mean?" But and she says, "Well, I'm able to connect and collaborate with people from all over the world," and you kind of become this international savvy person. And I also would agree with that. Just for me in my life, in my working life, but in my personal life, I love meeting students and our student workers in our office. Shouldn't say the word work, with student collaborators who help out with everything on campus, because it's really just interesting to find out about people's backgrounds. So I wanted to throw in Laura Lee there just as one example of a graduate who's now working in international business in Sydney, Australia. And the other thing to point out on that slide, and kind of Laura touched on this just a little bit, but using the Career Services Office in St. Louis, but also as a graduate from a Jesuit university, our graduates have access to the Career Services Offices in the 27 Jesuit universities within the United States anyway. So you can contact their career service offices. If you were to move to Boston, well, you could contact Boston College, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a really nice network to be part of. And then Laura also mentioned this too, like the companies and the businesses in St. Louis. There are 9 Fortune 500 companies in St. Louis. There's some big businesses. I don't know if everybody knows Panera Bread. Well, it's originally called St. Louis Bread Company because it started in St. Louis.
I did not know that.
Yep.
Even on the bags, it says
St. Louis Bread.
St. Louis Bread Co.
Yeah. But you can see the logo of St. Louis, the fleur-de-lis, the blue SLU logo is right in the middle. So there's companies all around. St. Louis is a major city as well. So not only is the Madrid campus in a European capital city, but the St. Louis campus is a major US city too. So there's lots of opportunities in Madrid, in St. Louis. And some of our students, they don't always stay in Europe. Sometimes people will go home to wherever home is afterwards, or go somewhere else. Like Marta was saying, some of our grads will move to Hong Kong and start a business, and then they recruit their friends from school. And so I think possibilities of moving around are definitely there, or just going home and, you know, working in something with a different mindset than when you left. So I don't know, any anecdotes that have come to mind since I've been blabbing away here?
Well, if I may, we've been talking about graduates and alumni, and there's one thing that it's a concept that I discovered really short time ago. You've heard of third culture kids, right? Mm-hmm. Well, we've got plenty of those. I mean, it's sons and daughters of Americans that have lived all their life outside the United States. So they are American, but then they're not American. But then if they lived in Germany, they're German, but then they're not German. See, I was pretty much a third culture kid myself. I mean, I was taken to Argentina when I was 6 years old and didn't come back until I was 14. I think this third culture kids really understand each other well. And I think for a freshman, it's really interesting to find other kids like them. I think this is something that is very attractive for someone that is considering an American education outside the United States. See, many of our students are these third culture kids. And this, if I may include myself as a third culture kid, I know I'm not that much of a kid anymore, but it's really refreshing to find people like yourself. Mm-hmm. It's really refreshing to share experiences with people that have been through the same experiences in life. You know, you're Spanish, but you're not Spanish. But then when you go back to the States, you're not fully comfortable there. You've became, without even noticing, a world citizen. Yeah. And it's
even the Spanish students. I'm sorry to cut you off. I thought you'd.
No, absolutely. I mean, third culture kids are not necessarily American or Spanish.
Right. And we do have a Spanish population on campus too, that they're Spanish, but maybe they're not, or maybe they are. So
yeah, if I can add to that, Gonzalo, what you just said reminds me of a course that I took that was highly focused in what they call Chicano literature. Wow. And it's people whose parents have immigrated from Mexico, for example, or it was a Spanish course, so it was Latin American and, you know, Spanish language. So it was either, you know, for example, Mexico up to the US, and then these children grow up with sort of a Mexican culture in the household, but within the United States. So like you said, not fully Mexican, nor are they fully American. And the interesting thing, something you just touched on, as far as literature goes, because that's kind of where my head is, there's some incredible literature that comes from people who have lived this experience. And some people argue that it's kind of this, I don't want to say like a loss of identity, because that has kind of a negative connotation, but it's more like, but it's sort of an ambiguous identity in the fact that you can really, like you said, be a world citizen and live kind of anywhere. You can function anywhere. And I think like you said, third culture kid is a term I've never heard, but I like it. And people in this situation have this ability to, I think, view the world differently. Yeah. And even if you're not a third culture kid or someone who has experienced that, I would say, like myself, coming to another country to study also gives you a totally different experience that I would say I've experienced, and I think Laura might agree, as far as just in general, kind of viewing the world a different way.
Awareness, tolerance, respect. I mean,
absolutely.
You open your eyes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I think maybe we're about an hour now, I believe. So maybe we just, I don't know, any final thoughts or or anything. I want to thank you guys for joining us during the lockdown from your houses and apartment.
Yeah. Well,
Well,
thank you, Heidi.
Yeah. Thank you.
Nice to see you.
I really learned a lot myself.
Sorry, what'd you say?
I really learned a lot myself. Like, you know, there are 27 Jesuit universities and we've got 50 different nationalities in campus. And,
There you go.
you know, it's
You learn something every day.
yeah, thank God.
Yeah. All right. Well, good luck with teaching online, with learning online, finishing up graduation credits. And thanks again, guys.
Yeah.
Stay
thank
home
you.
and stay
Thank
safe.
you, Heidi.
All right. Bye-bye.
Have fun. Stay
Bye-bye.
safe.
Bye.